I'm going to walk you through installing an Anchor Trolley Kit on your 2019 Hobie Mirage Outback. The new Outback uses the same Anchor Trolley Kit as the Compass. Opening your Anchor Trolley Kit for your 2019 Outback, you'll find a detailed set of instructions along with all the hardware that you need to get the installation done. So at any point in the installation, if you need to reference the manual, go ahead and do so. It's important to get all the parts laid out as they're going to be set up on the boat. So I'm just going to unpack this, keep the hardware pack separate for now, and make sure that my anchor trolley line and the pulleys are set up properly before I go ahead and orient them on the boat. Once you've mocked up how the anchor trolley is going to be set up on the kayak, you'll need to untie one of these double overhand knots holding the ring assembly and the shock cord to the trolley line. And you'll want to make sure that this shock cord assembly with the two rings on the end are on the bottom trajectory. So you'll mount the pulleys about 12 inches from both the bow and the stern, and then you'll want to run the lines so that this shock cord assembly runs along the bottom. We'll go over that in a little bit more detail later. So I'll just go ahead and pull the line all the way through the pulley, and that way I have some space to work with the pulley. It's important that all the holes you're drilling to mount the components of the anchor trolley system are well above the water line. So this second angled feature on the hole is where I like to put the pulleys. About 12 inches or less from the stern, and then the same distance from the point of the bow is about where you want to be. So I'm going to go ahead and mark small pilot holes and then come back with my 3/8 inch bit and create the holes for the well nut assemblies. So just a little mark there. 3/16 hole first, and then follow it up and enlarge the hole with a 3/8 bit. Notice that the pulley for the anchor trolley is a little bit deeper on one side than the other side. So I'm going to take the short screw in the kit, we'll insert that through, and then put the washer on the back, and then thread on the well nut. And this is going to help create a nice seal against the hole. I'm going to use the long screw, go in the thick side, and then a washer again, and then the well nut to create a nice seal there. Make sure that the pulley is oriented facing the middle of the boat. So the end that tapers off and is a little bit lower profile is going to face the stern, and then the same thing on the bow. The well nuts are going to be a snug fit on the 3/8 hole, so you might have to just kind of wiggle them in a little bit. It's going to take about 25 turns for these to become completely snug, but you want to be careful you don't over tighten. So I'm just going to go with a really soft clutch at first. I'm just going to give it a few extra turns with the screwdriver. And as you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're pushing against the hole so that the well nut doesn't spin. So we've got a nice sturdy fitting and a watertight seal against the hole. That's just what we want. I've gone ahead and freed up the bow pulley from the trolley line so that I can work freely with no lines in my way. And I'm gonna mount this on the same feature of the boat that I did at the stern. And I'm gonna go about 12 inches from the point of the bow. Again, making sure that the thick end of the pulley is facing the middle of the kayak. So firm pressure against the well nut assembly will help you make sure that the well nut doesn't spin. A firm push and start that. You can really get a good sense of how much torque you're putting on the assemblies when you do it by hand. So that's why I like to come in after using the drill and finish it off with the screwdriver. After you've installed the cheek block pulleys at either end of the kayak, you're going to want to install the line guides. So you want to install those just slightly below where the paddle is going to sit. So first you'll put the screw through the eyelet post and then put the washer on. That's going to help create a nice tight seal against the hole, and then the well nut assembly. And just thread it together by hand. It's recommended to store the paddle when you're on the water on the opposite side of the kayak from the anchor trolley so that you don't get interference with the trolley lines. But just in case you're keeping the paddle on the same side as the trolley, I like to set the paddle in place first just to be sure that my two line guides are going to clear the paddle. I want to make sure that I'm well above the water line, so this little angle change here is a good mark. You want to be above that. It's important that you're mounting the eyelet posts underneath the very end of the paddle groove. This will ensure that this aft hole clears the steering lines. If you go a little bit too far toward the center, you stand a chance of a little bit of interference there with the eyelet post assembly and the steering lines. So we're safe here. I'm going to go ahead and create my hole. Okay, now we've got the assemblies in place. And again, on a soft clutch, install these most of the way and finish them off with a Phillips screwdriver. Few more turns with a manual screwdriver just to get a nice strong seal there. Same thing on the aft one. Now that I've installed the pulleys and the line guides, I'm going to go ahead and run my line through the trolley system. So it's important that when you pass the line through the trolley system that you go over the top of the pulley with the line, because you're going to tie the other ends on the bottom trajectory to the shock cord. So I'll start out, pass it over. I'll pull this tight, and it actually helps to set the line on top of the kayak. So I got my two ends here, and then the shock cord assembly. You want to create an overhand knot in the end of the trolley line. Pass it through the ring, and then create another overhand knot. And that'll lock the trolley line into place so it's nice and secure. The trolley line will stretch just slightly after the first few uses, but I like to pull it out and stretch it just a little bit before I do this, create this knot. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of tag end to work with, but you'll want to trim this there because I'm not going to need this excess line. After I've cut the line, I'm going to go ahead and heat the end so it melts just a little bit to prevent some fray. Once the melted end of the line is cooled, you can go ahead and start working with it. So pass it through the ring. and pull it tight, and just kind of mark with your fingers where you want to create that knot. Just past the ring, I'll create my knot, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull it tight so I have a little line to work with, and then create my second knot. There's one final hardware assembly that you have the option of installing, and I would recommend sitting in the seat and mocking up where you'd like this tie-off point to be. Another option for securing the anchor trolley line into position once you have it set is just from the seat taking one wrap around one of the eyelet posts that you've mounted as the line guide, and it'll have enough bite to hold your anchor at either the stern or the bow. But you can also install this extra through-bolted tie-off point near the seat. If you're going to be roof-topping the kayak upside down on roof racks, I would recommend not putting it on top of the gunnel. Rather, a nice place to put this is just inside the cockpit in front of the cup holder. I've shown this installation on the right-hand side of the kayak, but the left-hand side works just as well. I'm a right-handed individual, so I prefer to manipulate the trolley line with my right hand. It's just a little bit easier. If you're a left-handed person, you might prefer the trolley line to be on the left-hand side of the kayak so you can manipulate it with a little bit more ease. Thanks for following along with this video. For other detailed installation videos, subscribe to Hobies' YouTube channel or check out the product support page on Hobie.com.